It's 7:40. Let's do this. It may be rough tonight, but we'll get through this. I promise we'll get through this. Good evening, Hampton Roads. Good evening, Northeast North Carolina. And specifically, good evening, Outer Banks. My name is David Aldrich, Chief Meteorologist of WTKR News 3 Television, and you are watching First Warning Live, where we're talking about Erin and how this storm is approaching. Sponsored by Marco's Pizza, which, by the way, happy to have a sponsor. And since Marco's is so big on weather, it's natural to want to talk about some pizza that we're giving away. We'll talk about that in more detail, but if you want to sign up, we're going to be announcing some winners tomorrow. I just want to emphasize this and get this out in the open. WTKR.com is our website, /Marco's. You can sign up. We're going to be giving away free pizza at these 5 locations, soon to be 6. There is a deal of the week today and runs through Saturday. It's my favorite, the Pozzoli. It's a great lunch item. My personal favorite is the pepperoni and sausage, but you can get a dipping sauce, marinara, some ranch dressing. It's perfect. It's like a calzone or a stromboli. Check that out. But if you're interested in the free pizza, you could check that out for, if you're a winner, you'll be getting 1 large, 1 topping monthly for a year for free. We'll be able to check off August, and September is just around the corner. It works like a punch card, and we'll be sending it to you in the mail if, in fact, you are a winner. So I want to thank Marco's for their kindness, and the Pozzoli Magnifico pizza is great. We had some of these today in the newsroom, and they disappeared pretty quick. So thank you for joining us. I want to enter the pizza there. So that's where things are at the moment. But I want to get to the weather, because what's happening is this storm continues to expand, right? What's been happening to this storm, while many other storms haven't been this large, this one's been a very large storm. I want to show you, right now it's got winds of 110. Now that's an important number to remember, because the minimum for a Category 3, which is also the minimum for a major hurricane, is 111. 111, 110, that's like 1 mile an hour difference. Come on, that's academic, right? That becomes academic. When it's 110 and you're saying 111 is a Cat 3, I heard somebody on the beach, one of our reporters interviewed them, said, well, I'll only pack up and leave if it's a Category 3. It's 110 with gusts that are well over and well into territory that might feel like it's a gust around Cat 4. I mean, it's just amazing. The perception using the Saffir-Simpson scale doesn't always necessarily describe the situation. So here's what you need to know. Here's what you need to know. It's going to affect our coastal areas. So if you're watching us from Wakefield, this is not a big deal for you. If you're watching us from Emporia, it's not a big deal for you. If you're watching us from Franklin, we love you, Franklin, but this is not Floyd. This is going to be a situation. It's mainly on the coast because of its track. And the threats are going to include flooding, gusty winds, heavy downpours, and the timing is tonight through Friday morning. Now, I want to take this one step further. I'll take it one step further. I think it's really midnight to 8 a.m. when this thing really starts to unravel. That's when Erin starts to flex the muscle, right? This thing starts to, that doesn't mean it's over at 8 a.m., but if you haven't had effects sometime in the middle of the night between midnight and 8 a.m., then maybe it wasn't a thing for you in Franklin or Emporia or Wakefield. I'm talking about areas in inland Virginia and inland North Carolina may not have it that bad. So you might think this was overblown. But if you're in the Outer Banks, this is who I'm talking to. This is what we're talking about as far as the effects. Does that make sense? I'm just trying to get this out there. I want to thank all of you who are watching. I got a note from yesterday. Kim Thompson is on here. I'll find here. She says, thanks for getting us prepared. It's an old note from last night, but it might have been posted after I was done. But if you have a comment, we'll have this conversation. I want to be able to provide you the information that you might not have heard anywhere else. And I have a platform here that's been a real experiment, right? Weather and pizza. We're doing it all because we like to be able to provide people with some real deals and get some free food if that's possible. We'll do that and kind of put that free pizza offering out there on Thursday. So let me go back to the map. So if you're just joining us tonight through Friday morning, that means don't expect improvement, really, until Friday. And even then, the winds are going to be pretty gusty. Just a gut check. What are the gusts right now? 22 in Manio, 60 in Kirk. That's nothing. That's nothing. You're all piping up. That's all you got. No, this is not all we got. And this is not all that Erin has, right? This storm will be filling in with higher gusts. What time? Midnight to 8 a.m. That's when it starts to unfold. And then we have to pack it all back in when there's some maybe downed trees or overwash, ocean overwash on NC-12 that gets more exasperated. All that's coming, but we just have to keep an eye on what's happening. Here's what to expect. Outer Banks ocean overwash, storm surge 2 to 4 feet. tidal flooding Thursday afternoon, and that means like toward the evening hours too, like 7, 8, 9 p.m., high tide. And I wanted you to notice that the sustained winds may be 20 to 40, but you could easily have gusts 40 to 60. I mean, that's within reason. And it all is going to depend on the fine-tuning of this track, because we have, and I will show you, this storm continues to expand. It is right now 7:45-ish. My clock's a little fast. But I see a few drops of rain maybe in the Isle of Wight, maybe there just north of Ahoskie, south of Franklin. Not a lot of rain, but some of it's spinning in, and it's not far away. This storm is now roughly 295 miles, 295 southeast of Cape Hatteras. But if you base it on latitude and longitude, it's probably closer to 262 miles. Where'd you get that? Usually like a lat longitude distance calculator. It's roughly about 262 miles. Probably the next updated 8, which is just a few minutes away, it's going to be probably close to the 250 mark. Means the center of this storm is 250 miles off the coast, and it's no wonder the waves that are crashing are getting bigger even as I speak. So if tomorrow is your trash pickup day, please secure your trash cans, because I don't think you really want your trash in your neighbor's yard. Is that a fair assessment? How about maybe if you have patio furniture? Maybe you have flags and picnic things that might be blown away in the wind. You might want to secure them too while you're at it. But I want to get ahead and show you. Look at the band spinning around Hatteras right now. That's how close this storm is. And even though it's not going to be, knock on wood, it's not going to be a direct hit in terms of the eye wall, we are still going to feel the effects of it naturally over time here. Got some other notes here. I'm just checking in. Want to see what you want to say, share, or comment. If there's a question you have specifically, we have been trying to do this all week long. We started with Dr. Michael Brennan from the Hurricane Center. He was kind enough to gift us his time on Monday. I say that because he didn't have to do that, but I love the fact that he did. And now we're here on a Wednesday night getting ready for all the drama that will be unfolding here. So if we look at some of the comments that are trickling in, I got here, let's see, Taj is on here, Ed's on here. Ed's got a note. I want to say hi to Ed. Ed's got a follow-up note here. Ed wants to know, he says, tide in Norfolk is highest since it's been since last fall. Worried about how much higher it will be tomorrow versus today. It's probably going to be noticeable. I mean, it is one of those things that for those of you that aren't maybe in or around Norfolk, because this is obviously a neighborhood different than yours. Everybody has this different type of dynamic, but we can typically see streets flood. And so in the Ghent area of Norfolk, it can usually rise pretty quickly. But I think because of high tide, 2 of them tomorrow, but really in that evening hours when the winds change and are more northerly on your Thursday, that's when things could get worse. So it could be like a 1-2 punch. Like you get the winds really picking up between midnight and 8 a.m., but then you get the flooding on the backside. So if it's a 1-2 punch, that may be what we see. But Ed, thank you for your note. Other comments that might be coming in. Let's see here. Spencer Parker is on here. He says, what about the Eastern Shore? Well, you know what? We started the live stream last night, Spencer, on the Eastern Shore because I had egg on my face, right? We didn't embrace in the 3 minutes I had for TV. I didn't embrace it, but I did. Last night, you had 9.66 inches of rain from a Coco Ross, it's a cooperative weather spotter with the Weather Service. So you had just about 10 inches of rain yesterday, but you didn't get that today. So you've had some dramatic weather in the Eastern Shore, but the effects are still under a tropical storm warning for the Eastern Shore, even though the worst winds may very well be the Outer Banks. So we'll show you some projections here. So let me keep moving. It is now 7:49. Look at that. It's already trying to spin in some rain. Now, I don't think, based on the track, it's not going to be necessarily all the water that comes from the sky. It's going to be storm surge. It's going to be dangerous surf. It's going to be coastal flooding, tidal flooding. You're going to have all these dynamics coming into play as they begin to unfold on Thursday morning, mainly from from midnight to 8 a.m. is when it really gets underway. Now this front's back to the west, and you can see what's spinning. Clearly you can see it spinning across the Atlantic here, and if it's only 262 miles from Hatteras, now the question is, how much closer can it come? Now someone thinks, oh, well, let me ask you this question, Spencer, since you were in the Eastern Shore, and I do know now that they closed 13 for a little while, in the area of Exmoor. Was it bad? You say absolutely, it was bad in the Eastern Shore. But if I asked some other people in Norfolk, was yesterday bad? You say, oh, not bad. Today, if I asked you, was it very bad? Maybe if you were down on NC 12 today, You would have said it was very bad. But maybe it just wasn't a good day for you. But I think we're all going to sing from the same hymnal. We're all going to sing from the same playbook on Thursday, where some of you are going to say, you got to be kidding me. Thursday was horrible. And it'll be for different reasons. And the only reason I point this out is because when I came here in 2016 to present a paper about weather languages, I'm always thinking what language is going to be understood. Because it's not just what you say that gets you into trouble. It's how it's understood. And the cone is oftentimes misunderstood. So my feeling is, you got to be kidding me, would be someone from Franklin, Emporia, or Wakefield who says it wasn't bad. You got to be kidding me, these weather people, they hyped it up for nothing. It wasn't an inland Virginia issue. This was to be an Outer Banks coastal issue. So for them, it might be horrible. But the beautiful thing I wanted to end with on this slide is it's improving both Friday. No matter what position you take about this particular storm, there's a good chance you're going to say it was improving on Friday. Let's get on with the weekend. Okay? So that's my timeline in ways that we kind of communicate with each other. Hurricane Erin. Now this is what's shocking. I like the fact that the National Hurricane Center will post in their comments, how far from the center of circulation are the hurricane force winds? Well, that says 105. It does say 105, but do you remember if you go back to yesterday's live stream, what did it say? It said 80. 80. That's right, it said 80. That means it's actually grown 25 miles. You mean hurricane force winds are now 105 when yesterday it was 80? That's right, so it's getting bigger, it's getting stronger, and it's borderline Cat 3. Borderline by 1 mile an hour. I mean, you're talking academia. Just 1 mile an hour and suddenly we would declare it 3. I think that's kind of insane, but hey, that's just me. That's probably a question I probably should have asked Dr. Michael Brennan. But 265, now that's the 265 miles going past Roanoke. If you're in Norfolk and you travel to Roanoke, that distance is roughly how far the tropical storm force winds are from the center. And if I last checked, we're probably closing in on that 262 from the center now. So that means we're just hours away from the Outer Banks, particularly Hatteras first, to feeling the winds of tropical force winds. I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense, but let me get to the nuts and bolts. That means you're going to feel winds out of the northeast, 25 to 40, gusts easily over 50, many places. And that includes the eastern shore. But if you were to look at coastal flooding, the coastal flood warning doesn't start until when? Tomorrow morning, and runs through Friday afternoon. So as we could utilize this example, let's take the highest number and put it in our pocket. Some people do that. I've learned in my years of doing this that if you say 2 to 4 inches of snow, some people, all they heard was 4. All right, if you go to a car dealer and say, I'll give you 2 to 4,000 for your trade-in, and then they give you 2, and you say, I heard 4. So you put the highest number in your pocket. I know that's how human nature works, so I'm trying to use the same language that I would have used at the weather conference here in Norfolk. But 1 to 3 feet, I'm 6'1" if I don't slouch. So that means it's probably up to my waist, maybe just below. Does that connect with you? So we're talking a lot of water that really will be the second half of your Thursday. And if you really want to know about the tidal flooding, just look at Sewell's Point. It's going to be picking up somewhere in that 7:30 to 9 p.m. time frame where it's moderate. So if it's a place that typically floods, you can bank on it. It's coming back. So we have to watch the evening hours on Thursday. What about Duck? Let's go use an example. We'll just pick and choose. We'll cherry pick Duck, North Carolina, of 7 feet. That's a lot more. Same time frame, roughly around 7 p.m. on Thursday at that time. I hope this is also connecting with you. Got a note from Rachel Weaver. I want to say hi to her. Hi, Rachel. If you're new to our platform, thank you for participating. It's really not hard. Just to encourage you and thank you for participating. Your face and picture comes on. If you're watching this first time, you just leave a comment, type in a comment. And I got a lot of comments to choose from, but I'll do my best to magnify everyone's voice. She wants to know about power outages. Anytime you get winds that are 40, 45, 50, 55, and for a prolonged period of time, Rachel, power can tend to go out. And if you have a tree that comes down, right, then you can suddenly lose power because the trees come down. So you have to anticipate that as a possibility. Maybe your power flickers. Maybe your power never flickers. I'm thinking Emporia or Franklin. And I'm not picking on them, but they're farther away from the distance of the center of this storm. It's all that track. But power outages, I would encourage everybody within the sound of my voice just to make sure your phone has charge, because nothing's more That's a crisis in our household. Our family, our girls, they like their cell phones. Maybe you do too. Maybe you want to make sure you don't want to lose power, so make sure it has a full charge on it before you go to bed tonight, because the winds will be a big issue overnight. Storm surge warning, 1 to 3 feet inside the Sound and rivers, and if you're in the Outer Banks, again, we're talking about a wind that's going to be picking up in that northeast direction. So as the day wears on, it's more like northerly, and then maybe even by the time Thursday night comes out, it's more northwesterly. So it's spinning because the main system is moving away. That's probably the simplistic way to highlight what we're going to see. Storm surge is going to be felt all the way up to the Outer Banks and all the way up to the eastern shore and all the way up to my home state of Delaware. You can see the green all the way up and into South Jersey. Rip current forecast, well, obviously we have 3 days of it, very, very high. But if we were to pick one day, that's tomorrow. That's when it's like 9 to 12. And down toward Hatteras, it's going to be more like 15 to 20. That's nuts. That's nuts. And I'm sorry if you rented a beach house this week and you didn't get your money's worth, but you did get something out of it. You got some memories, you got some pictures, and you have some fond thoughts about the big waves coming in. Because we had a surfing championship go on, as our own neighborhood reporter, John Hood, has been covering on our television side. If you're not familiar with our TV station, I encourage you to go to WTKR.com. We've got a live blog, we've got a great free weather app. You can get updates when, in fact, I'm not actually live streaming, but I am live streaming now, and let's keep going. 7:56. This is the chance of winds. Now, this is more corresponding with the cone, right? When we see the cone going out to sea, and some people just write these systems off, it's to their detriment. But I can tell you, if you were just to do a little check, and these colors come by way of the Weather Service, Hurricane Center. So their margin of error, they thought, well, maybe 120. And I said, if it moved. What if it moved 35 miles? What if it moved 25 miles? The hurricane force winds have moved 25 miles west of the center, and the tropical storm force winds have moved 35 miles more to the center of the system. So, like I said, there could be some surprise factors tomorrow, and I don't want you to be surprised. That's the worst kind of weather to have if you didn't see it coming, right? You say, I didn't know that was going to be a possibility. Let's hope that that's not an issue for you. Now, clearly, this shows you a little bit better where the yellow area is, and that's the winds that are of tropical storm force. Notice it's not covering Virginia Beach. It is covering Roanoke Island. It is covering, if you look real closely, it looks like it's covering Wanchese and Manio, Nags Head, but if it jogs a little bit further, the winds could even be a lot stronger. So that's why I say, if you're in Franklin, you're not gonna have a problem. Most cases are no problem at all. If you're in Raleigh, you're no problem here, and no problem if you're in other areas, maybe around Ahoskie. So it's really going to be closing or hugging the coast as far as the damaging winds that we get in the next, let's say, 12 hours, right? Because 8 o'clock tomorrow morning will be 8 a.m., so we're about 12 hours away from this thing kind of, this storm flexing its muscle, so to speak. Wind forecast. This shows that obviously the chance of winds being 39 plus, much, much higher here. And if we zoom in a little bit tighter, see how it covers Virginia Beach, right? There's still a chance. What you're saying, Aldrich, is there's a chance that we could have some gnarly wind. Yeah, it's a possibility. Does it mean it's going to be everywhere? No, but we can keep an eye on it all the same, because it's Rodanthe, it's basically Duck to Hatteras that we really want to be proactive and make sure that people are cared for. And it's a great opportunity to take care of your neighbor and take care of those around you. Checking in the comments here, I see another note. Somebody from Lisa wants to know more about, as I come back in here, she wants to know about Norfolk and Newport News. Well, I'm gonna talk about that. As again, worst of the winds aren't going to be here; they'll be south, but we're still going to have enough that might keep you up if you're a light sleeper in Newport News or if you're a light sleeper in Norfolk. So hopefully, the graphical display here will answer that question. Well, here it is. Right? This is midnight. This is when the winds are going to be picking up. You said midnight to 8 a.m. Yeah. So let's just focus for a moment. Midnight to 8 a.m. What do you see? Well, I see 19 maybe around Newport News. I see 16 around, say, maybe Wakefield. And maybe I see 18 around Ahoskie, maybe even Gatesville. It doesn't look like, oh, they hyped it up. No, you got to be kidding me. But then there's this. I mean, we don't want to ignore this. Some of you might say, because I don't live there. I don't live there. Okay, but some people do. And it's a bigger deal for them. So we have to be mindful. Now let me take you 2 hours down the road. 2 a.m. 56. Well, it's still it's peanuts. I mean, it's just a 19-hour wind over here. It's not a story for you. We love you over here, but this is a coastal storm that we have to be mindful of. Now, the Eastern Shore is still technically under a tropical storm warning, and that means those winds could spike, and that's why I think they're being proactive, because any little deviation in the track may mean those winds go a little higher. Now this is 6 a.m. Some of you might say that's when I start my day, or I get the kids to the bus stop around 6:30. Maybe that's the case, but how do you ignore this? And everywhere you see pink or purple, that's in the 60 plus range. And where's the wind coming from? It says northeast, right? It's the northeast wind. So you're pushing a lot of that water, we mentioned in the sounds and the rivers, it's going to have some impact. And if I'm not mistaken, we started this time lapse roughly around midnight. This is 6 hours. This is going on for a while, right? It's an accumulative effect that can wear down some communities. Now, take you to 8 o'clock, and it's still 60, but now suddenly, south side, oh, now we got winds. And in inland Virginia, 27. Do you see the difficulty it is to communicate this message without the graphical support? It is hard. It is hard because I've been here 6 months, not even. And I can tell you, when you have a system, at some point, strong winds have to stop. At some point, precipitation has to end. And at some point, snow tapers off. We're like, why did they get 10 inches on February 19th and I only got 6? Well, it's sometimes the way it goes. Maybe it's the storm track. Maybe it's the motion of the storm itself. But I can tell you, big difference between 27 and 60 at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, when many of you are trying to get out the door. Many of you are trying to function and trying to care for your family, for your neighbors. This is a great opportunity to check on them, make sure they're aware that this thing is going to start to exert a lot more pressure on the coast in the next 12 hours from now. Less than that, really. I would say 4 hours away from midnight. We got a lot to change. Now, does it get better at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon? You tell me. 40, 44 south. It looks like it's just as bad. You said midnight to 8 a.m. That's when it starts. That's when it starts. And now when the winds are changing, you still have this cumulative effect. You have more storm surge. You have more coastal flooding. You have more dangerous surf. All of this is going to interact in a very unfavorable way. And even though the Eastern Shore is showing 39 here, there is some coloring up here in red. So I know that some of these communities, barrier islands, they're going to feel the effects of this in a big way. Now, 6 o'clock tomorrow, that's in the evening. It's not 60 here. It's trying to pull away, but because it's been going on for so long, I think some of you are like waving a white flag and saying, please make it stop. And it will eventually improve. What time did I say it would improve? Friday. Looks improving. It's not like the winds go to sleep. They're still moving, but you still have a lot of wind to deal with even on Friday, with gusts close to 25, maybe even 30. I know there's some other comments and questions. I'll do my best to highlight. Let's see, I got Kylie's note on here. I want to say hi to Kylie. She wants to know how things look for Pungo and Back Bay. I would assume it's still going to be pretty strong. Minimum Norfolk about 40, 45 for gusts. And I think that's conservative. If we saw a 65 or 70 mile an hour gust in and around Hatteras, all right, we'll use that as the highest benchmark. If Hatteras got a 65 or 70 mile an hour gust, which is close to the 74 hurricane force, that wouldn't surprise me. Now, maybe I'm far off, but we have to wait for this to play out. And nobody really can play Monday morning quarterback when it hasn't even hit Sunday yet, right? You play on Sunday, NFL, I'm thinking that's when they play. So you can't play Monday morning quarterback on Saturday afternoon or evening. You got to wait for the event to play. And then you can kick yourself and say, I did this wrong, or I did this right, or I would have done this differently. And I do that. I do that often with most events to see what could I have done more efficiently or more effectively to get that point across. All right, let me go back to the maps. We got a lot more to talk about. This is represented 5 p.m. Friday, and it's still pretty gusty, even on the Outer Banks by 11 o'clock Friday. And another way to look at this, some of these models are going to be using different algorithms, but they show pretty much the same thing. 55, 54, 59, they're pretty high in Hatteras, and they're in that 40 to 45 range as they flicker through this timeline that we just showed you. What about wave heights? They're pretty high too, anywhere from 15 to 20 plus, especially further out you go. And again, a lot of it's going to be pushing in with the wind, so it's going to create, have you ever had a cup of coffee? I had an NC State professor say, take a cup of coffee when it's steaming hot. Maybe you've gone a bit, got a hot cup of coffee, and you start blowing on it. You know what I mean? It pushes all that hot coffee to the other side of the cup. That's kind of what's happening. I mean, Mother Nature is going to be pushing this intensity with all this might and force. It's going to be coming, so our wave heights are going to continue to rise. So what coastal flooding could look like for you might be different from somebody in, say, Norfolk. But if you're near the coast, maybe you're at Back Bay or Sandbridge, it might look more like this. It's just gonna, and maybe it didn't look like the first image, maybe at the beginning, but by the end of the afternoon Thursday, it did look like this. That type of thing. That's why I say large breaking waves in the surf zone, 10 to 20 feet plus, coming by way from the National Weather Service. This is running until Friday night, so it's not even ending Friday afternoon. Erin's enhanced satellite image shows, again, this is getting closer. It's now about 8 o'clock, and if I have some updates here, I'll just refresh my browser. The 8 o'clock update has it now 200. Ready for this? Drum roll, please. It is now 245 miles from where? Hatteras, Cape Hatteras. So the 8 o'clock update, which was just a few moments ago, it's getting closer. So if we know that the tropical storm force winds run out to 265, right? 265? Yes. And we're about 245 miles away from the center. That means we're probably beginning to feel the effects in the Outer Banks at this hour. So I just want you to make sure you're prepared, make sure your family, friends, neighbors, and all those who might not be able to get around. Because, you know, some people don't have transportation, they don't have the means, they might need assistance. Maybe they use a cane or a wheelchair. You just want to make sure everybody is accounted for. The Hurricane Erin forecast at 8 o'clock, and I can tell you this is the 8 o'clock because it says that right up here. This is my computer doing its job. It just updated us a few moments ago, and it's got winds still, 110. So they're still maintaining the very strong Category 2. See, we hang our hat too often, I'm afraid, on just the category. When you sometimes want to know how big is this thing? How large of a storm is this? That can also have a huge difference in how it's impacting communities and neighborhoods. Here's another look at this Erin. This was one of the operational models that has done very well, showing the impacts of this storm. And if I'm not mistaken, that just looks like that's in the time frame that you said it would unfold between midnight and 8 a.m. And we've already got these bands that are coming in, and they're wrapping around counterclockwise, and they're pushing water down in places that maybe that water would normally be if Erin was not there. So this is why this is 4:30 in the morning, and then it kind of continues on like so. I believe at 7 a.m. it's still there. Even though the center is over here, we can check mark that we're not getting the eye or eye wall, but we're still getting the banding, and that's why we're concerned about our friends who could lose power or perhaps even be affected by the storm surge, because we're pushing it like that cup of coffee and you're blowing on it. It's coming all at once. Now it looks like this has been updated too. This should be, I believe, 70%. If I'm not mistaken, I'll double check that. We'll fix it on the fly. Yes, it's now 70%. But the X marks the spot. Notice what's happening here. Somebody was asking me, should we be worried about this? I would say first things first. Let's get through Erin. But this is likely to curve out like so. I'm not worried about this state. I mean, this might get the name Ferdinand, and this might get the name Gabrielle. But to be honest with you, this storm will be likely moving in some of the kind of like the wash, right? If we go to the ocean wash, overwash on a highway, I don't suspect this is going to have the same fuel to rocket Ferdinand. It'll more likely move up to the colder waters of the Atlantic. But we can just go ahead and put 70%. That's what is actually now for the 8 o'clock update, and we'll cross off the 60. That's me doing that on the fly. All right, so let's keep moving. That means we have Erin on the board. We got Ferdinand and Gabrielle and Umberto as the next three names on the list. Good question. I got a note from Angel. Let me see if I can bring Angel onto the screen. A question that was come up about safety measurements. What specific safety measures should residents take right now? Well, if you were in some of the communities that were given a mandatory order of evacuation, hopefully by now you're well ahead of the curve, right? I'm talking about Hatteras, and then we had Ocracoke, and then we had sections of Corolla. The areas where a 4x4, those areas were evacuated, mandatory evacuation. I think at this point, having your phone charged, having an emergency kit where you have change of clothes, some water, bottles of water, a protein bar, some snacks, something to keep, just be mindful, because if you lose power, even if it is for a day or maybe 12 hours, how would you function? The worst thing you want to do, the last thing you want to do is panic. This is not a panic situation. It's just be informed. So those are good questions, Angel, and I hope that people will take your advice as well, because we want to check on each other. Doesn't take but a minute to call a friend and say, hey, are you keeping up with the weather, or do you know what's going to happen? It might be a very hard night for sleeping for those in the Outer Banks. So when I keep talking about midnight to 8 a.m., midnight to 8 a.m., it's hard to sleep if you're in the Outer Banks. You'll sleep like a baby if you're in Franklin. You'll sleep like a baby if you're in Emporia or Wakefield. But at the areas along the coast, it's just going to be location, location, location. It's going to be dependent on where, in fact, you live. That's really where it comes down to. Now, as far as 8-10, I got to keep moving. This should not surprise you. We just had 2 areas of interest, the 70%, now the 40%. We could see more storms as we go into September. September 1st, by the way, is Labor Day. I just found that out today. Usually Labor Day doesn't happen on the very first day of the month, but apparently it comes early this year. But usually by the 10th of September, we start to see a peak in tropical storm development. I've shown you this before. That's what we're seeing up here. So keep in mind, tropical storms, we are still still early in the season itself. Norfolk July highs, I show you this just for comparison. It was humid, yes. We had 12 90-degree days, but it doesn't tell the whole story. We've had some amazingly high humid heat events. The AMS and the State of the Climate talked about that. We were, even when it was like 86, it felt like 100, or 88 felt like 102. We've had some very sticky days in July, but compare that to today. I had said weeks ago, or a couple of weeks ago, I said by the time we hit the 19th and 20th, it's going to get cool again. Today was 83. Normal high is 87, and tomorrow that high drops to 86. So this is still technically a below average day. I mean, we had a string of 79-degree days. This was like, what happened? The humidity was great that first weekend. The first weekend in August, we didn't get out of the 70s, and it was wonderful. Now the humidity's come back at times, but we've still only had 2 90-degree days in August in Norfolk. And the outlook taking us through Labor Day is below normal. I mean, you're going to be hard-pressed to hit another 90-degree day this month. I mean, we may have say goodbye to the worst of summer. And some of you are like, good riddance. I wasn't too keen on that heat and humidity. That many of you know what I'm speaking of. June was just as bad, too. June had 12 90-degree days, and July had 12 90-degree days. But this below normal trend, there's a little bullseye. I don't know if you can see that as well if I take this off full screen. But the amazing part was the fact that this will be the outlook as we head into the early part of next month. This comes by way of the Climate Prediction Center, so we can expect cooler than normal temperatures. Now, I had 2 nights now. My header is off here, but let's just, for argument's sake, we've now picked up 1/3 of an inch yesterday. Obviously, we had over 9 inches, 9.5 to 10 in the Eastern Shore, so this is all only 1 point. This is Norfolk International, but we're looking at about 1.59 in this area. So if you live near a neighborhood near the airport, that's how much rain we've had. Temperature right now, 812-ish, 78 Chesapeake. 78 Wallops Island, 79 in Mania. Our 24-hour temperature change suggests we're 4 degrees warmer now in Norfolk at this hour as compared to yesterday evening, and 79 degrees in Suffolk, which is +5, as is Newport News, +5. They're a little warmer now than we were this time last night. Erin is now approaching. Coastal flooding, dangerous surf. These are my headlines. Wind-driven rain, but not a lot of rain. I mean, unless you get a band of showers from Erin, it's not going to be like all-day rain. I got a 60% chance you get some showers, but of course it's going to be carried in with wind. And then cooler, less humid as Erin slides by. We just looked at the outlook going down the road. Looks like we'll have some interesting information on that as it gets a little bit cooler. By the way, I got a note, follow-up from Angel saying thank you guys for the great information. My pleasure. That's what we're here for. And if this is something you like, if this is a platform that's more agreeable to you, let us know in the comments. I know Marcos would appreciate it. Our managers love to see the comments that come in, and we just like to make this engaging, especially when events like this matter. It's not like it's sunny and 70 all the time, but when you can have something tropical affect Hampton Roads or Northeast North Carolina, we take it seriously. Our weather team is on this, all of us. There's 4 of us in our team. And we got a newsroom that's had Marco's Pizza. By the way, it just went away. It kept flying off the shelf. I had Marco's Pizza newsroom, and after I got done the 6 o'clock news, there wasn't much left. So that's a good sign. That's a good thing when people are, in fact, hungry. All right, we want to make sure you're taken care of, so let's keep moving. I have the national scene, and I like this map for 2 purposes. One, if you're in the military and you're homesick and you're wondering what's going on back home. I'm looking up here towards, say, Montana, where there's quite a few of those little orange polygons. That's a severe thunderstorm or two that's breaking out in parts of Montana. Looks like specifically in Blaine County till 7 for considerable damage, and looks like Fergus County till 7:15 or 6:15 and 7:30 respectively in mountain time. So I've never been to Montana, but I'm told it's beautiful. Big sky country. We come back closer to home. We are all watching this little storm. It's not little anymore because this storm keeps getting bigger. It's stretching its arms, and now it's just showing off. It's now bringing in some bands of rain into the Outer Banks, and it will only get worse, we think, as we head into the next 12 hours or less. We'll say 4 to 12 hours. This is when this thing's really going to ramp up, and it will be prolonged for the flooding aspect Thursday afternoon and Thursday night because of the high tide. All right, so keep this moving. Lows this morning, because I keep notes. Lows this morning came at 6:59 in Norfolk. It was 73. Our high temperature today was 83. That occurred at 2:50 this afternoon, while it was 84 in Franklin, 88 Suffolk. Our friends in Elizabeth City, in the harbor of hospitality, hit 86 degrees today. Look at these dew points. Is this anyone? I mean, when you have a hurricane off the coast, what do you think it's going to be humid? It's going to be very humid. And so these dew points are off the chart again. But once it pulls away, guess what happens? It goes back down, and it's going to go back down in a hurry. So if you're not a fan of the stickiness, you're not a fan of the humidity, you're going to see this all start to drop, and we'll be back in the 60s before you know it. Dew point change. This is a 24-hour change. Some of these have come up +5 for Gloucester. Haven't talked about Gloucester in a moment, but that's what they're seeing right now. +4 in Newport News, meaning it's 4 degrees more humid in Newport News now than it was at 8 o'clock last night. Kitty Hawk's +2. It's +4 in Wakefield. And that means when it's 75, that means it's oppressive. It means it's miserable. It's not comfortable. And you can sweat, go through several t-shirts, just walk into the parking lot and back. That's no fun. But when it changes, and boy it will, look at Saturday. Oh, does that say 63? It does. I'm going to love Saturday. Yeah, it's going to be comfortable. It's going to be really pleasant. So the comfort factor, I mean, it's one thing to say, hey, it's 70 degrees, or it's maybe 80 degrees on Friday. It's the fact that the dew point's back to 65, it's going to feel more comfortable. And hopefully that will make at least some of you a little happy as things go on. I got a note from Kim. She's on here. I want to say hi to her. She says, thank goodness it didn't land. No, it didn't land, but it's going to have its effects, right? Like think of these storms like a figure skater, right? When the figure skater pulls their arms in, it gets really tight, small, like a Wilma or an Andrew. I'm thinking those were the big storms from 2005 and 92. And take something maybe like a Floyd. Floyd was big, very large, and sometimes you can't always necessarily assume that just the Saffir-Simpson scale is the only way to grade these things. There are opinions that differ from the conventional thinking that we probably have other ways to measure the impact. And so oftentimes it's the ones you remember most. It's the Hazel, it's the Isabel, it's the Irenes, it's the Matthews, right? Those are the hurricanes that many of us in Hampton Roads remember quite well, and maybe it triggers you. Like, I don't want to think about Isabel. That was a nasty storm in 2003. Dew point temperatures are going to come down. They're right now in the mid-70s. Hatteras is 77. Current temperature in Knoxville, where I spent 15 years, where I raised my girls. My wife and I were raising our girls there in East Tennessee, but we're happy that we're now in Virginia Beach and Norfolk and Northeast North Carolina. I've been here 6 months. So if you hear me mention Tennessee a lot, it's just because my reference point was there most recently. But you might have family in other parts of our country because you might be in the military, maybe you have family, you know others that are in the military. It is still very blazing hot out west, even though it's a dry heat. Vegas and Phoenix at 108, 110. While it is still hot in Oklahoma City, they're at 91. Even Rapid City looks very unusually hot, but this cool air you see in green is going to continue to grow, and I've got evidence of that happening in this next slide. But as I mentioned, this is it's going into September 3rd. The colder than the Canadian air will be coming down in just a few short days. Future temperature shows that coolness. Look at that. Look at that. When it turns green over the Great Lakes, you go, that's sign me up. It's autumn. I mean, suddenly we're going to be able to use the word crisp. How many of you think, well, I'm thinking like an apple? Yeah, I'm thinking crisp and cool weather is coming. And as we get through tonight, you get through tomorrow, get through Friday. By the time we hit the weekend, it's going to be clear to everybody that something new is coming. You'll feel the difference. You'll notice the dew points dropping in a hurry. That's the good news there. All right, so those are the future temps. The temperature trend as we now approach about 18 or so. Temperatures are going to be about 81 tomorrow, 80 on Friday. We're not going to be at 81 very long. And I think most of the time, we'll be in the upper 70s, and then once the storm pulls away, north wind kicks in, we'll be back into the low 70s to end the day tomorrow. But normal high tomorrow, because today normal is 87, but tomorrow high tomorrow starts to be 86, and we'll see maybe above average on Monday. But after that, that's the 25th, Monday is, we'll start to see these numbers come back down. Rain chances, I think, are a little high. We were thinking 30 today, 60 tomorrow, 10% or 0 in the coming days, Friday and Saturday. But here's what I think is amazing, is that even though we have a hurricane off the coast, you would think some of the numbers would be off the chart for rain, but that's not the case. Right? We might see 1 to 2 inches in parts of the Outer Banks, but it's just not something that everybody's going to participate in. Somebody like Spencer asked me about the Eastern Shore. Here you go, my friend. We got about a 40% chance of rain tomorrow in Bloxham, 76, Onancock, 77, Saxes, 76. If you're in Cape Charles and maybe even Exmoor, maybe even lesser of a chance of rain, but fog could be an issue early on. Thursday, we got 80 in Kill Devil Hills, 40% chance of rain there, Manio about 80, and once you get further south toward where there was been evacuations, Ocracoke and Hatteras, 82 for Hatteras and Ocracoke respectively. Now the Storm Prediction Center is another division of NOAA that we utilize a lot during convective severe weather season. Isolated scattered severe storms in dark green and yellow typically means that we could have some hot spots in parts of the country, including Montana, where we focused on some storms there. Minot and parts of North Dakota might get an isolated storm between now and daybreak, and then down toward Houston and back toward parts of maybe toward the west of Atlanta, Chattanooga, could even include parts of maybe Athens, Tennessee, where I know fairly well. In Knoxville, you're not in that coloring, but areas around Chattanooga could see some isolated strong storms between now daybreak tomorrow. Lastly, or second to last, is the severe weather threat for Thursday. Fargo and Aberdeen could have some severe storms tomorrow, but you can clearly see there is not, I repeat, not a big concern about tornadoes or severe weather outside of the winds that we've already highlighted and the coastal flooding. Severe weather threat Friday will grow just to the east of Casper, Wyoming, Cheyenne, Wyoming, and back toward Minneapolis, St. Paul, and as well as Omaha, Nebraska, but no severe weather threat Friday. But one thing you will notice are the increase in high clouds. That's one of the things where you might see, may get a little bit of sunshine, but what's interesting is the cloud cover at 7 a.m. will continue to grow, and these are going to be the high thin clouds initially, but the winds, that's the story. These are sustained winds at 24. And there's still some pockets of showers that might grow. That's to be expected. But when you're looking at those winds out of the north, because that little white caret is in that direction, it's pointing down, so you're going to be pushing a lot of that water on the sound side of flooding. You're going to see more of that grow during the course of the afternoon, because this represents 12 noon on Thursday. What about the afternoon? A couple more showers spin into Virginia Beach, spin into Norfolk, spin into Newport News. That's 5 p.m. And the winds are still pretty gnarly because that's sustained at 22. And that's why I said tomorrow's going to be a bad hair day for all of us, unless you're wearing a baseball cap, and even that could blow off your head, so make sure that's secured too. Friday, still breezy, still gusty, but look how beautiful it is. Hardly any drops anywhere, so we'll find a mostly sunny day Friday. I think we'll find a mostly sunny day on Saturday. All right, it is now 8:21. I'm going to wrap things up soon, and I have some programming notes for you too, so don't go away. Thursday morning, tomorrow we're in the low to mid 70s. I think 76 for Hampton is reasonable, 76 or so for Norfolk, 75 Chesapeake and Moyock, looking for a low around Matthews at 72 degrees. Tomorrow afternoon we'll briefly get to near 80 in the peninsulas. Most of the day spent in the 70s. It's just blustery, it's windy, and yes, we've got the flooding that continues to be a problem, especially as we approach high tide. Highs Thursday about 78 for Suffolk, 79 for Ahoskie, Edenton 81, Duck, Corolla about 79, and 77 for Melfa during your Thursday afternoon. Here's your first warning. WTKR News 3 7-day forecast, 80 on Friday, 82 on Saturday. I'd say that's super comfortable given the fact that I showed you the dew points will be in the low to mid 60s, which is sweet. Then you got a little warm day here, but then we drop 10 degrees here. So you probably don't need me to interpret the 7-day, but I just wanted you to see it. And with those big crashing waves behind this image, it kind of sets the stage for Hurricane Erin and the impact this storm will have on our region. So hopefully that explains it. By the way, I want to give a shout out to our senior meteorologist and morning meteorologist, Miles Henderson. He had a great trivia question at noontime today. I haven't used these as much, but usually happy shots, but I thought trivia would be something that would be worth noting. How many times have we had an Erin in the Atlantic Basin? Anybody want to guess? If you're real quick on the comments, I'll put your name on the screen to see if you can guess. Anyone who want to guess who and how, what question, as far as this question, I look forward to 7:40 Monday through Thursday. This is full of great information. Well, thank you, Kim. I appreciate your support. And again, we're just having an experiment. This is actually episode number 49, so tomorrow's 50. We could have some extra pizza surprises. That's part of my programming note, but I'm also going to get to a bigger programming note here in a moment. But any takers, maybe anyone who watched the noon program today on TV at WTKR probably already knows the answer, but if you have a guess, it's 1, 3, or 7. Do I have any takers? Oh, I got a note. From Taj. Taj has to say, Taj, are you really thinking it's 7? You're going 7, right? That's a lot of errands, but I have to say, you are right, my friend. Ding, 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 you won. I mean, you got the trivia question right. I hope you win some pizza tomorrow, but how cool is that? No, actually, I'll take this full screen. So, Taj, congratulations, you were spot on. Maybe he did a Google search, but it had 3 tropical storms, 4 hurricanes over the span of the Atlantic Basin. So that's a great trivia question. 1989, 1995, 2001, 2025. So that's kind of cool. I mean, obviously this storm has not been eligible for retirement. It's not been retired. And as we know, if many of you are hurricane or weather nerds like me, you know they recycle these names every 6 years. Every 6 years unless it's retired. And retired meaning if it's caused a lot of damage, if there's been death or destruction. Helene was retired in April of this year. So was Milton. Milton was a big storm in the Gulf last year, as well as Beryl and John. I believe John was from the Pacific. So sometimes it's usually the World Meteorological Organization. They call it the WMO. That makes those decisions. But when I asked Dr. Mike on Monday, he says he gets a say. I wanted to know if he got a vote. Kind of like, high school or college coaches get to vote. What's the number 1 team this week? Everybody gets a vote. Sometimes Hurricane Center gets a vote. But Erin has been around for 7 times. So there you go. And we'll go back to this. The forecast, if you just want to see that one more time. Just a reminder, the programming note, if we are going to be giving away some free pizza going on tomorrow, the certificate, we usually give 1 certificate for a year to 1 person, but then we'll hand out 10 additional pizzas to individual people who might be participating. If you want to grab a Pozzoli tonight, you can save yourself about half the price. It's just $5 if you use the promo code WTKR David. Now, what is probably most confusing if you're watching from far away is that I tried that code and it didn't work. Well, it only works in these 5 locations. Only valid at these 5 locations. Now, it's at Hampton Roads. We've got Marcos all over the Tidewater area, but these 5 specifically are participating in this particular contest. But WTKR.com/Marcos is a place to sign up. And it's not too late. And if you've signed up once before, you do not have to sign up again. So just wanted to reiterate that as well. Okay, so that's that in a nutshell. So if I'm convinced, and I am, that we're going to see some unfolding events during the midnight to 8 a.m. time frame, I most likely come back. I'm going to come back. It's only about 8:26 or so, but I'm going to come back around midnight. So we'll do a stream. We'll do a live stream. If you are in the Outer Banks, what I'll do is probably put 2 boxes up. I'll have the radar. I'll have the wind gusts. And I might not be talking the whole time. I might want to go down the hall and grab something to eat and come back. But you will have access here. We'll live stream it, and I'll keep you updated. At least give you what you need. I don't want you, if you're going to have a hard time sleeping, then I'm going to have a hard time sleeping. And I don't want to do that. I'm the new guy. This is my first event here locally. I obviously went through Helene, even in East Tennessee, that had its effects last September. But this is something that, even though it's not the big event, It's dress rehearsal for me because I've only been here half a year, but I wanted to let you know if you're in the Outer Banks and you're just looking for new information, you want to know what's going on, I will be here again around midnight and beyond, so hopefully that gives you some comfort. But as I said before, and I'll say it again, it doesn't matter if the weather is sunny or if it's serious. Every day, even when there's a hurricane approaching, every day is a gift. So make the most of it in your neighborhood. We'll see you here a little bit later tonight. Take care.